looking at 1 inch of margarine, 2 inches of margarine, 1 inch of butter, and 2 inches of butter. We're trying to determine the melting point of margarine and butter. And right now, the margarine, if you can zoom in on the bottom of the inside of the test tube, we can see that the margarine has melted. Can you see that? And the temperature of the margarine is right on 35 degrees Celsius. So 35 degrees Celsius is the temperature at which 1 inch of margarine will melt. It's reached its melting point. Over here, I have 2 inches of margarine on the hot plate. And what I'm going to do there is wait another minute or two to see what that melting point turns out to be. So right now, the 2 inches of margarine is heating up. And what I'm plugging in the hot plate for the 1 inch of butter, because we're going to determine the melting point of butter too. We're trying to see if there's a difference between the melting point of 1 inches compared to 2 inches. So we're increasing our mass from 1 inch to 2 inches, the amount of matter in an object, and we're increasing the mass of the butter from 1 inches to 2 inches as well too, to see if the melting point compared to mass, if there's a difference. So I plugged in the 1 inch butter just to get that going while we're waiting for the 2 inches of margarine to melt as well. Right now, we're at about 32 degrees Celsius and it's starting to liquefy inside. Does anybody think the melting point will be different? The other day we looked at a piece of chalk. We looked at a whole piece of chalk and we talked about the properties of chalk, and then we broke the chalk into several pieces and talked about the properties of the chalk as well. And we said, are the properties of the chalk the same as one piece compared to several pieces? So right now, we're right at 35 degrees Celsius, and if you can see, if you can zoom in, the margarine, the 2 inches of margarine has reached the melting point. So the melting point for the margarine at 1 inches was 35 degrees. Melting point for margarine at 2 inches was 35 degrees Celsius too. Now we have butter, 1 inch of butter. We're going to see if the melting point of the butter at 1 inches or 2 inches will be the same or different. Okay, I'm going to plug in the heater hot plate for the butter for the 2 inches now. To find a safe avenue for that somehow. Get that plugged in here. Okay. Now we have the 2 inches of butter on the heater as well. Right now we're at about 22 degrees Celsius, and this is probably a little cooler. Any predictions about melting point for butter? 1 inch or 2 inch? Will there be a difference? Will it be the same? And any predictions about temperature of boiling point with butter and margarine? Will it be the same? Will it be different, and why? So our water in the 1 inch of butter is starting to warm up. So test tube over here didn't seem to want to cooperate. It's on an angle. Temperature of the butter is about 27 degrees Celsius. It's climbing slowly. If you look inside of this, you can see inside that beaker, you can see the butter is starting to liquefy. So I'm going to take a peek at the temperature here. About 29 degrees, not quite yet. So its phase is changing. With melting point, you have a change in phase from a solid to a liquid. And melting point is a property in which scientists use to identify substances, whether it's a liquid, solid, or gas. What I meant to say is that a melting point is a property in which we use to determine a solid substance. Okay, so we're right at 33 degrees Celsius, and if you can take a look in there, the melting point of butter has melted, and it's 33 degrees Celsius for the butter, so a difference of 2 degrees compared to margarine. So that's the 1 inches. And I'm going to turn that one off. 2 inches of butter is, I better be careful with this one. It's right about almost 30 degrees. Any predictions? Will it be the same as 1 inch of butter or different? Okay, we're right at 33 degrees Celsius for the 2 inches of butter, and if you can zoom in there, you can see that this has turned to a liquid as well. So the melting point of 2 inches of butter and 1 inch of butter is approximately 33 degrees Celsius. This concludes the demo for today.